Hi, and welcome to another video by Get It Done Home Repairs. Today we're going to talk about the correct way to attach wires to a light switch or to an electrical socket that's being replaced. Now, obviously, if you're going to be replacing a socket, these wires will be connected on here. But if these wires were damaged and needed to be replaced, I'm going to show you how to strip back the insulation portion here and how to connect it onto this switch here correctly. Now, I know you're probably saying, well, it's just a wire and you connect it on, but there's actually a way that it has to go on here, which is very important, which I'm going to explain to you. We are going to need a pair of wire strippers like this to cut the insulation off right here. We're going to need a pair of needle nose pliers like this. We're going to use screwdriver, whichever one works for you, that actually fits correctly into the side over here like this. And of course we're going to need some kind of a knife or a razor blade or something like that, just in case you have to strip back some of the insulation right here. So I'm going to show you how to strip back the insulation and create these ends over here so that we can connect it onto the light switch. Now, so it's the exact same procedure whether we're doing a light socket or with a light switch. So we're going to work with the light. It's the the socket versus the switch right now, but it's the same exact procedure, but we're just going to do one for now. So we're going to put this off to the side, and we're going to talk just about this socket right here. Now, if you have these wires and they were connected on there, and you could reuse them, then of course you can reuse them. But if you didn't have these loops on here, or if it was damaged or something, you'll need to create them again. So we're just going to take these ends here and we're going to snip them away. Okay, so now if you have these wires, and you can see these are a little bit short right here, so we need to cut back the insulation a little bit further. You just take a razor blade such as this, or a utility knife, or whatever you have, and just cut back in the middle of the two strands. You see how there's two strands here? You don't want to damage the insulation below. We just want to take off this insulation right here. So what you'll do is you take a razor blade and you'll just cut down through here like this. And then you can open it up, just like that, and pull it back so that you can get the length of wire exposed that you need. Now this part we want to take off, so you'll take a razor blade. You're not going to cut deep into it, you're just going to scratch the surface very lightly, just like that, all the way around. And now you'll just take this and peel it off, and you can see it's a nice clean cut. This paper that's on here now, we'll just pull it back like this, and then you can take your razor blade and you can cut the paper portion of the insulation off. We don't need that. And then we're going to do the exact same thing on this one. That's around the ground wire, so we're going to take that and we're going to cut this off as well, just like this. And now we're going to strip down the wires so that we have the ends exposed. The wire strippers come with different size openings in here. You want to use one that's not going to damage the wire core in the center of it. So you're going to put the wire over the top like this, and you can see it slides back and forth. It doesn't really cut it. So we know that we need to be one over like that. And then we just squeeze the wire cutters, rotate them around like this, and pull off the insulation. And then we're going to do the exact same thing on the other wire right here. Put it in here like this, cut down very easy, rotate it around, and you can just pull off like this. And you can see that there's no damage to this core whatsoever. If by chance you use it and these are too tight and it cuts into the core and it creates a little bit of like a little bit of a scored mark, such as that, cut it off and don't use it, because when you try to turn this, it could snap off in that area down there. It weakens it and it'll snap off in that area there, which is what you do not want to happen. All right, so let me strip this out a little bit more so we have a little more exposed. And now you can see no damage whatsoever. So now we can continue. Now if that's what they look like, you're going to take your needle nose pliers. You'll just grab the end of it right here, and you'll just rotate it to create a loop in the end of it, just like that. We're going to do the same thing on this one here, just to create that loop on the end of it. Same thing on the ground. We're going to create the loop on the end of it like this. Okay? And now what we're going to do is we're going to take our socket that we're going to be replacing. Now, make sure that whatever location you take the black wire off or the white wire off, make sure you put it on the exact same location. Now, I know in this particular case here, this is our power lead right here, and this is our white wire, which is our return. So this is the black one, that's the white one, and the green right here is the ground for the switch itself. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the switch itself, make sure that your screw is screwed out all the way, both sides, left and right. They're out all the way. Next thing we're going to do now is we're going to take our black wire and we're going to connect it up first. And the way you do that, you connect the wire around like this, like that, and you want to squeeze this wire together just a little bit like that, so that this is actually underneath there. Now it's very important that I'm going to show it to you real quick now. It's very important that when you put this wire on and it goes around like this, that when you tighten this screw in our clockwise position, that the wire itself, which would be this portion of the wire, the open end of it, needs to be pulled in and tightened at the same time. Okay, so now you see how the wire is in here like this, and now we're going to take our screwdriver and you tighten this down. But you see how the screw is turning this direction? When it's turning this direction here, it's actually pulling that wire a little bit tighter inside there, just like this. Okay? Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to turn this over. And we're going to do the exact same thing with our white wire, which now is going to go over the top of this screw here, because we know that this is going to turn clockwise. Again, you do not want to put the wire on like this. You never want to put the wire on like that, because now when you try to tighten this here, it's actually pulling the wire open. So it's very important that you put it on so that it rotates the same direction that it's going to be tightening. All right? We're going to put it around like this. We're going to take our needle nose pliers. We're going to squeeze this wire together so that it fits into its opening right down inside there. We'll pull it down like this, and now we'll tighten that wire, the screw, down all the way. We're going to pull it and make sure, see the top of the wire there? You want to make sure that that wire is pulled in. You don't want to stick it up like this. You want to pull down all the way, and you want to make sure that down here where the screw screws onto the nut, onto the wire itself, that the insulation is not stuck underneath that nut. I mean that screw. If the insulation is stuck underneath here, it's not going to tighten up correctly, and you will have a problem where the socket may be intermittently working. So if the insulation is underneath this screw, then you need to shorten up the insulation just a little bit. All right, so we're just going to pull this in like this, and then we're going to tighten this down like that. And I'm going to point this out to you here. You see how that end is flush right there? That's the way it's supposed to be, and you can see that the insulation is not underneath the screw that we just tightened down. All right, so now both of our power lead and our return are connected up correctly. These screws, you want to actually screw these down. You don't want them sticking out. You want to screw them in even though there's nothing going underneath it. We're going to screw it down here. And we're going to screw it down over on this side as well. Okay, the last thing we're going to do with the green, remember the green is our ground. We're going to take our ground wire and we're going to do the exact same thing. Put our ground wire on here just like this. Pull it in. We're going to squeeze this wire together here, just like that, so that it fits in between that little piece that sticks up right there, and there's a little piece that sticks up right here. And now we can tighten up the ground. We're going to make sure that the wire is down all the way where it's supposed to be. I'm going to tighten it up like this. And that is how you wire the switch. Like this, and of course like that. All right? So that is how the switch is wired up. Now I'm going to show you another way that a switch can actually be connected also. You look in the back right here, you see that little tiny hole right there? We're going to talk about how to use these tiny holes to connect the wire up. So that's how you would wire it up if the wire was underneath the screw. And now let me just cut this off and we'll come back and I'm going to show you how to do it if you need to use these little holes in the back right here. So, all right, let me cut this off and we'll come right back. Okay, now there's different kinds of sockets. Even though they look the same from the outside here, when you pull this out of the box that's in the wall, you'll unscrew it like you normally would any box. Again, making sure that the power is off inside here. If you're not sure, make sure you use your test light to make sure there's no power inside there. But this has to be off. No power in there when you're working with this at all. When you pull the switch away from the wall or the socket away from the wall, you'll pull it out and you're going to find that the screws have no wires underneath the screws. If you look in the back over here, you'll see that there's tiny little holes in here and the wire is actually plugged into the hole. To get these wires out of the hole right there, you'll try to pull these and they will not come out. You'll try to pull them and there's no way you can get these out of here. They just don't release. So what you would do is you would take a very small flat-bladed screwdriver or whatever you have to fit into that flat opening right there. Take the screwdriver and you'll put it into this hole right here and you give it a little bit of a push in, just like that. And now you can take the wire and you could pull it out. You see how this moved a little bit too, so you may have to push it in a little further. And again, pull it, and it comes right out like that. Then we'll come over and we'll do the same thing on this side over here. Push it in here, push it till it releases, and then you take this and you pull this out like that as well. Then you'll take the ground wire off. The ground wire is still connected with the conventional screw, and you'll just obviously unscrew it counterclockwise to remove the ground wire from the switch or the light socket that you're removing. I'm going to take it and screw it out almost all the way, and then we're going to grab our wire and we're going to take this out from underneath there like that. All right, now I just want to point this out to you too. If you look at this wire real close, right here you'll see a little bit of like a cut in the wire right here and right here. I usually try to cut these off because I don't like putting a wire that's cut back into a new switch or a socket like this. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come in here and we're going to strip back the insulation here just a little bit further. Remember, you just take your razor blade and you cut along as far down as you want. We're going to expose the wiring underneath like that. We're going to take our razor blade and we're just going to like score it. You don't want to cut all the way through. You're just going to score it all the way around like that. And then we'll take the insulation off. We're going to remove the paper insulation underneath. Again, all that paper insulation can come out. I don't have to tell you this, but always make sure you're cutting away from yourself. Now these ends here, we're going to just cut these ends off because I don't want to reuse them because they're slightly damaged. And now these we're going to strip back a little bit shorter than they were on the other one. We're going to only do about a ½ inch, just like that. And we'll take it off there. And here the same thing. You stripped it back like this. The ground, we'll deal with that in just a minute. And now we're going to take our wires and we're going to put them back in. Make sure you remember where they went. This particular case here, we're going to take the switch and we're going to turn it around this way here. And we know that, or I know that this is our power lead going in. So you would take this, put it into the hole there, and you would push it, and you feel it lock in, and that's it. It doesn't come out. Could do the exact same thing on this one. Put it in here like this. Push it in there. And that locks in as well. Now we're going to take our ground lead and we're going to connect our ground just like we did with the other one. We're going to make a little bit of a loop in the end of it with our pliers. We're going to take this, put it over the top of the ground like that. We're going to squeeze it together, making sure that you have it rotating in the clockwise position, the open end of the wire, like that. And then we'll screw this down. Pull our wire, make sure it stays in all the way. Alright, it's nice and tight. So now we have our wire, our ground wire is connected on. Our white wire is connected back in where it belongs. Our black wire, which is our power lead, is connected back in where it belongs. And that's it. We're just going to take our wires, bend them down like this, and then we can put the socket back into the wall. But that is what it's supposed to look like. You don't want to have any of the insulation. You want to have the insulation right up to the back of the switch. You don't want to have the wire exposed with that much of the wire sticking through. So if this insulation is off and you have copper wire showing, then you're going to take that out. You're going to cut it back a little bit shorter, and you want to make sure that this is how the insulation is right up to the back of the new switch like that. All right, and that's it. And we'll put this back into the wall, screw it down, and that's it. You're all set. So that's the two different kinds. That's the two different kind of connections that you'll have on the back of a light switch, or even on the back of a socket itself like this. Switches and sockets can also be connected like this. So now you know if it has a push-in type, that's how you do it. And if it has the screw-in type, that's how you would do it on the side here with the rotation clockwise to tighten it up. So that's it. We're all done. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.